Okay, let's look at these new characters. What are people saying about these two? You? What about this guy? Oh, okay. Hey, look what the people say at the banner. Easy skip. Oh, I reacted to it already. Yeah, that's how I feel too. What's going on, guys? Sekapoko here, bringing you another 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross video. For this, we'll be going over the new Bon and the new, what's her name? Diane. That's going to be coming out to 7 Deadly Sins, and going over if you should pull for them on this banner or not. A lot of people have talked about this on Reddit, and I wanted to give you guys my thoughts and opinions. So, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alrighty, guys, so before we hop into Bon and Diane, we're just going to go over briefly exactly what has been changed for this latest patch coming out on December 13th, or it's actually December 12th for me, but you know, December 13th. So. First off, we got 2 new awakening packs for Bon and Diane. Easy skip, don't need to pull for those, they're $30, so yeah, easy skip there. Other thing to note is that we have Gloxinia and Infinity Merlin, which is the new blue Merlin, are now added to the general pool. We also have a couple different base stat changes, and these are important to know before you're pulling for Diane or you're investing in any Diane. So first thing you gotta know is that we're gonna be getting increased stat changes to 3 different characters. First of which is gonna be SR Diane, who's gonna go up in persistence, endurance, or patience, whatever you want to call it, from 10 to 20. Crit resist is gonna go from 5 to 10, and overall she's gonna get another 50 or so attack. 110 attack. She's also gonna, oh, it's 120, whatever, I don't care. Another 300 defense and another 1300 HP or so. The coin Diane is going to actually increase by 10 attack, which is nothing at all. Going to go up by 300 defense, or sorry, 400 defense or so, and she's also going to get an increased P of about 1300. So both free stat increase changes, all really good. And the other thing is that Hauser is actually going to go from, this is actually incorrect, I'll let them know in a little bit on the Reddit Discord. This is actually going from 200 to 240, not 220, it's 240. I'll let them know. But it's really good. Let's go ahead and go over the new Bon, and we're going to be using the GC database stuff to go over all this, and if there's anything wrong or mistranslations or whatnot, I mean, I'll let them know. Let me know in the comment section down below. I actually I just reached out to this guy. He's really cool, and I'll definitely give him some input if you guys want to say there's anything wrong on either Bon or Diane. So first off, Bon is going to be a another version of the coin Bon. He's going to have a weapon, so that's great. He's going to be, instead of the red pullable version, now we have a blue pullable version. So there's 3 total Bons. So I don't think we're going to get any more Bons of that version anytime soon. I don't even think we're going to get any more Bons anytime soon at this point, because now we have 6, so that's a lot. Overall, he's blue, he's human. That's all you gotta know there. First skill. So it starts off at a 220% attack, which is a very strong attack. The highest in the game, I believe, at 1 star is, no matter what, 240%. It was off from Hauser. We see that, I believe, from Escanor. There's a couple other units that do it as well. But 240, I think, is the highest. 220 is very, very high on a 1 star. Second rank on the first ability is going to be 300% attack and remove stances. That's actually a huge amount of attack. That's as much as Helbram and as much as coin Merlin as far as a single target attack goes. So that's a very high damage attack. I very much like that. Of course, you know, Helbram gets a 20% stat boost and then Merlin does not. So you can definitely see the differences in damage there. So he should be really akin to Merlin's damage there on the 2 star. But the difference between this character's 1 star and Merlin's 1 star is that this character has a 220% 1 star, and Merlin, of course, has a 120, and so does Helbram. Removing all stances from enemies is not really a thing that you really need to do right now, and I'm assuming that this character is supposed to counter some kind of composition in the future, or possibly a raid in the future. I'm not really sure, but it's kind of weird because there's not a lot of stances that you find in PvP. Even Diane, which is the biggest taunting unit in the game, is a buff-based character, not a stance-based character. So I'm actually kind of confused on this. I wonder if it's actually stances and buffs, and it's actually a mistranslation. We'll have to try it out, and hopefully it is. Third rank in this is going to be removing all stances from enemy and does 500% attack to a single target. Very high attack. Helbram and Merlin max out to 450, by the way, so give you an idea how high this damage is in attack. The only characters that do over 500 or more are characters with Rush that I've seen, and the other characters have no ability on their attack, like Meliodas or Twigo. on single target. There's a couple other ones, but I don't remember what they are. Going into the second ability for this character, he's going to have Stretch Change Stick, which is going to do 180% of his unit attack, and it's going to be a debuff attack. It's also going to decrease defense-related stats by 20% for 1 turn. This is very, very, very similar to Valenti. I don't know if this is right though, because it says 180, 180, 300. Okay, so it just increases the defense. That's so weird. This is the first time in a long time I've ever seen this. I actually have never seen it just like this. It's a 180% attack going to a 180% attack, but instead of reducing defense-related stats by 20%, it goes up to by 30%, which is a super weird increase. I don't really get that. That's so dumb. Like you have to merge 2 cards, you get a 10% defense down increase. That's stupid. Like, why would I do that? I mean, I would just use the 1-star then. You wouldn't even bother. Like, you either use a 1-star or a 3-star. Don't even bother using the 2-star. Jeez. It's so weird. It's kind of like how Slater is. Like, you don't even want to use his 2-star ability on his second ability, because if you do, then you're just wasting an extra card. You get the merge, but, you know, who cares? Okay, rank 3 is inflict 300% attack to a single target and do 40% defense down for 2 turns, which is much better than 30% for 1 turn. If this was 2 turns defense down, sure, that's perfect, all right? If it was 180% defense-related stats by 30% for 2 turns, I'd say 2 stars is worth. But, like, since it's 1 turn, it's like, well, who cares, man? That doesn't help me at all. All right, let's go into his passive. His passive ability is to increase the defense of this unit by 50% of your enemy's defense. So if your enemy is building a crap load of defense or has a lot of characters that have attack and defense, this character already pre-snatches all their defense, which is huge. That is the thing about this character that I like the most, and it is a very, very strong ability. So what's really interesting about Coin Bond is that Coin Bond has one of the lowest defense values in PvP. And the way he makes up for it is when he uses his snatch ability, he's able to get whatever snatch rank of the enemy's defense. So he gets 20%, 30%, or 50% of their defense by using his snatch. This ability, just instead of making it an actual ability, it's as part of his passive kit. So he actually just snatches all the enemy's defense passively, which is really, really cool. And that makes it a very, very strong unit in PvP, because this unit innately, if your enemies are rocking about 7,000 defense each, that means they have 21,000 defense total collectively, which means that this bond gets an extra 10,500 defense on initial comp. So that means if he starts out with, say, 6,000 defense and gets an extra 10,500, he's at 16,500 defense, which is a huge amount. That is a very, very large amount of defense. So overall, is this bond good? I would have to say yes, he's very good. But should you pull for him? There's the dilemma. So there's going to be a lot of things coming out in the next few weeks, so I'm not 100% sure if you should pull for him. As far as base stats go, he's very much similar to the original bonds. He's going to have high crit rate, high crit damage. He's going to have decent low penetration, low patience, low regeneration, all that stuff, and 10% lifesteal. Still fates out with Jericho, so of course build your red, blue, and green Jerichos out if you have them. Those are the ones you want to use the most. And overall, yeah. His ultimate ability is the same as Coin Bonds. There's no reason to go over that. Essentially, he just does a 350% attack normally, or 400% attack to a single target or multiple, and steals 50% of their attack and defense. Now, what you'll notice here is that this is going to be essentially what your Coin Bond snatch is like against another character without using a snatch first. So realize that this is going to be a much lower amount of attack and defense. So overall, this unit is a very tanky unit, can remove stances on other tanky units, but there's no tanky units to remove stances on, so I'm a little confused on that. But there's not really a big counter here. So what I would think this character would be really good with is, if you're going to be using this character, he'd be very good on a Valenti team. That way he can lower the enemy's penetration. That way you can lower the enemy's penetration. You have a high amount of defense, so you can't really be touched on damage, and you can do tons of damage to the enemy. And you would also be using a Gil Thunder backline with this unit in order to get yourself a lot of tankiness on him, as well as getting extra tankiness from the Valenti by lowering more penetration value. So as far as the fourth unit, as far as what's going to be in team, I'm not sure yet. We'll have to we're going to go take a look at the latest Diane and see if she would be good with him, and if that is a good composition, or if we new Diane. And the new Diane is going to be a green Diane with a weapon. So positive there. She's going to be the Diane with what's her hammer called again? I keep forgetting. I can't remember. All right. She's very good so far. I've seen a lot of things on her, and a lot of people talk crap about the most recent 2 units. And honestly, I was like, yeah, they're kind of whatever. But like, then I reread what the units said, and I was like, okay, maybe they're good. So first off, Diane is going to do 150% damage to all enemies on her first skill at rank 1, which makes her a very good farming unit. 150% attack on every single enemy on the field is the highest multiplier attack that you can do on every single unit. Now, obviously, Blue Meliodas, Lilia, and Hauser combinations are still going to be better. But if this unit has to deal with characters that have very high patience values or whatnot, and you really need a green unit to farm, and you didn't want to use your green Lizhawk, this is also a good unit for that. If you don't have Blue Lilia, this is a unit that really can bypass the need for Blue Lilia, giving you a large amount of attack. So rank 2 ability is going to be 225% attack to all enemies, and rank 3 is 375% damage to all enemies. Now this is a very, very high damage skill. There's only one other unit that I saw in the game that did have this kind of attack value, and it was actually Twigo, because Twigo has the same attack. Essentially, what happens is that if you don't have a sub ability to your attack abilities, you actually get a higher multiplier, and it caps at what you can see here at the end. At 375% attack to all enemies, that's as much as some ultimate abilities we saw from Bond, because he had a 400% single target or a 350 without a fate combo. So it's a very high damage attack. You can probably see well over 50,000 damage with these AoE's attack per unit. So you can do at least 150,000 damage just with this unit innately. So that's a very, very strong unit as far as how much damage this unit does. And if you had multiple of these, of course, you could wipe out an enemy team pretty easily. Her second ability, which is also an area effect attack, is going to do 140% attack to all enemies, which is insane if you think about it. Now you have a character that has 250% abilities, 150 and 140, and you can use them with no RNG base. So that's huge, being able to do that in PvP as well as PvE. Second part of this ability is going to do 150% of damage to all enemies, but then also remove all stances, which is really cool. And third rank of this is going to be 250% of her attack, as well as remove all stances. So that's great. I mean, she has 2 area effect abilities. They both do the highest multiplier damages in the game. 250 and 375% respectively are the highest that you can get. So that's very, very good. As far as area effect characters go, there's only one other character in the game that I use for area effect farming, and that's Hauser. And he's the only other character that I know of that has 2 area effect abilities that affect every unit on the field, so that you don't have to worry about RNG. For auto farming, this is extremely good, and if for PvP, I can definitely see some viability here because it eliminates a lot of RNG on turn 1, and you can do tons of damage. It really depends on what her substats are and what the enemy is going to be in order to see if it would be good. So let's go over her passive a little bit first. Her passive is Undaunted Will, increases defense-related stats of all allies by 10% for each debuff on this unit. So it's very, very, very similar to the way that, what's her name? Lizhawk works. And Lizhawk, the way she works is that the more debuffs on her, it actually increases the HP of all your enemies by 12% per debuff on her. So both Matrona and Lizhawk are going to be good characters that if they have debuffs on them. Personally, if I was going to use this character, I kind of would want to see how she would perform with Melascula. Because what happens with Melascula is Melascula has a commandment that every time you don't use an attack, that character is going to get 2 Ignite stacks. So it's a really good way of getting debuffs on your own character without actually doing anything. And since it's defense-related abilities versus the increased damage taken, you actually get an increased defense every time you get an Ignite stat. And you get the increased defense across the board. So you're actually getting more defense than you're thinking, and more and less damage taken per Ignite stack, which is really interesting to see. And you can actually stockpile Diane abilities this way in order to get lots of Ignite stacks on your character, and or flip-flop between her as well as Lizhawk. So this is going to actually be a really interesting character to see, because if you did have Melascula, this is not so much a meta-changing character. This is a very good unit for PvP because of this. And I don't know if you're going to see a ton of her, because I don't know how she's going to perform against a lot of other compositions, but it is really interesting to see. Now, of course, the big character that counters this character, no matter what, is going to be Red Gowther, Attack Seal. And he's the most popular unit in PvP. So, big reason to not use this DN is because Gowther is so popular, and you're going to get Attack Sealed all the time. So, that's my big problem with this unit. Alright, as far as substats go, she's pretty even across the board. There's nothing really special about her. There's there's no big stat. She's going to have pretty neutral substats across the board. Nothing big there. Her ultimate ability is the same. It's just going to be high damage to multiple targets on the field. And the difference between her and Coin Diane is Coin Diane actually gets increased attack per turn, whereas this unit gets increased defense per debuff. So overall, I would still say that Coin Diane would be my preferred unit between the two. But for farming, I would definitely use this character. And as always, thank you from the GC database for putting up everything here. There's now Guild Boss Guide. There's Yad Bud. So I wouldn't say that these characters are characters I would pull for personally, because they are not really characters that you're going to need in PvP. I don't know if they're going to be meta changing, but to be honest, I don't really see any reason to pull for these two. Valenti meta, though, kind of makes it so that Bond might be a good unit to pull for. As far as the fourth unit on that team, I really don't know what I would use. You could get away with a Deldry. I don't know. It might go with more damage. Might go with an Escanor on that team. It really is hard to say. And the amount of defense that you're getting on Bond really makes him so tanky that it might be worth it. I might also say that going with an ultimate gauge removing character would also be a good way to go, or a character that seals ultimate gauge, or even Arden, just because he lowers ultimate gauge in general. So I don't know, man. There's going to be a lot of different things you can do with that team comp specifically. You could even go with increased defense on your team composition. There's a ton of different ways to go. And I'm really not sure if I would go Diane and Bond on the same team. That seems really attack heavy and really easy to seal out with a Gother. Probably not the best way to go. What's really interesting, though, about Bond is that his defense is high enough where he can actually get away with countering Gother. Because at 16,000 plus defense, with the patience buffs that you're going to get from, or the patience passive that removes penetration on the enemy team from Valenti, you would actually completely nullify a Gother with attack skill. So that's a really interesting thing, is that your Bond can't be attack sealed by Gother with an attack defense build, which is really interesting. So, should you pull on this banner? Well, Bond's really interesting for Gother, but it's really close to New Year's, really close to Christmas, so I really don't know if I would pull right now. I'd probably wait to go close to the end of the year and then pull on that banner, just because usually for any company, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff there. Even though some of these units are pretty cool, I'd say I would wait. But alright guys, my name's Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you did, of course, like and subscribe, all the fun stuff, and you guys have a great rest of your day.